Good evening, everybody. It is an exciting time. Well, I guess it's afternoon for some of you. Good morning for others. We're glad to be here with you again on the seventh day, day seven of Sukkot 5784. Man, this has been absolutely amazing. And we are on early today. Um, Brother has some things to do today, and I've got some things to do today. So we want to make sure that we got it in. We wanted to make sure that we were able to spend this time with you on the seventh day of Sukkot, the very final day of Sukkot. Of course, we know that we have one more day, and that's the eighth day, but it's not Sukkot. It's Shemini Atzeret, and we'll talk about that the eighth day tomorrow. I'm not going to do any spoilers today about the eighth day. We're going to save the eighth day for tomorrow. But tonight is the final day, or today is the final day of Sukkot 5784, the Ark and the Crown. And this has been absolutely amazing. I'm really enjoying the way that the Father is taking us. I'm really enjoying what he is allowing us to identify with. I'm enjoying the way that he's allowing us to see, because he's already done everything he's going to do. So he's really just allowing us by his Spirit to identify the path and to stay fast to the path and to walk this thing out so that we can see all that he's already designed for us from the beginning. I've got my brother Apostle Ace with me tonight. I promise you, it's always such a joy to have him here with me. And thank you guys for joining us. I saw it was a whole lot more people last night too. It was a whole lot of people last night. Thank you guys for taking the time to like it, to share it, and just being present in the room. I know a lot of people are probably taken off guard tonight that we're on at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but they'll see the replay. And you guys can still share it, and you can still like it, and you can do all the things that are needful for us to do to position it to be seen by people that wouldn't normally be able to have access to it. But my brother Ace, Apostle Ace, is in the room. Apostle, how are you, brother?
Oh, holy shalom. And it's just wonderful. I'm light, doing light work in the kingdom of Yah.
Mm-mm. I'm with you when you're right.
Yes.
Look, in your words, I'm
Oh,
with you when you're right.
oh my goodness.
I'm
Yes,
with
and
you
shalom
when
to
you're right.
holy shalom to everybody that's present, that's listening and will be listening. Holy shalom to you and your family.
Absolutely. You ready to get on this journey, brother?
Listen, I'm putting my seatbelt on.
Me too. I'm putting on mine too. Oh my God, I count it such a privilege just to be here and to be counted. I don't take that lightly. That no matter how I was raised or grew up, I was born and raised in the church. So um, I didn't come from off the streets and just figure, find him in that space. I was found in that space called the church. He found me there. And that's where he began to communicate some things to me and shape me and form me for the time that we're in now and beyond. And so I'm just grateful for his choosing. I'm grateful for his using and his choosing. And I could never say enough how thankful I am for the ability and the agility to do the thing that I am called to do. It's absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
Thank you for liking and for sharing and all the stuff. I appreciate that. But we're here on this seventh day, and we got quite a few things to talk about. But we're not going to hold you long tonight. We're going to get it in. Going to get it in. On this seventh day of this Sukkot dimension, we got to talk about some next steps, right? We've talked about quite a few things, and we've experienced and encountered some things. But now we got to talk about what happens next, which is often a thing that, you don't find as a conversation when you are dealing with the things of Yah. There is always a what's next Yah. I have this conversation that I have around that idea, excuse me, and it's related to Abraham, because Abraham is sent on this journey, like I said, without a GPS, without a map, with a crew and all his stuff. And he's sent on a journey, and he was really strategic at identifying the way. And the way that he was strategic at identifying the way was because he would just ask, "What's next?" It is, I believe, something that I attribute to him that I believe is a great character, of great character, that he would ask the Father, "What's next?" It's a thing that many people don't do. We could be in prayer and have all kind of conversations, but the "what's next," we kind of get comfortable when we see a way and we start going in a direction, not understanding that the Father reserves the right not to tell us everything about the journey, right? So then we need
Mhm.
to have the wisdom to ask him what's next. And the moment that Abraham stopped asking what's next, yeah, he wound up with a baby by Hagar, and this baby began to antagonize the promise at a later time. I believe that that's what a lot of people are experiencing in this season, the antagonism of a thing that you allowed, of a thing that was born of you, of a thing that was created in another season, and now it's antagonizing the space that you're going into. But all Abraham did was just put that thing out, put it out. The Father said, "No, this is not a part of the promise. This is not the promise." And so you're going to have to, no, I'm going to bless it, but the promise is going to reside with the thing that I divinely created from the beginning of you,
Mhm.
that I
Mhm.
divinely instituted concerning your life and concerning the future of you and the nations that after you will be blessed by you. And so sometimes we just have to, cut the losses. I think that one of the things that's a really big deal with people is that we don't know how to deal with attachments and assignments. There's a
Mhm.
big difference between an attachment and an assignment. An divine assignment of Yah is what is about you going from glory to glory, from faith to faith, from destination to destination divinely, right? But attachments aren't always Yah assigned. Sometimes there's just things that we pick up along the way, things that we connect with on our own. And so we got to be okay with attachments falling off. I was telling somebody a couple weeks ago, they were sharing some things with me, and I was sharing with them why I felt the way that I felt and why I had spoken some things to them before. And that thing that they had said was a solidification for me of what I said to them. And I said, "This person to you is a rocket booster, you know? And I said, "Do
Mhm.
you know what happens to rocket boosters once the rocket takes flight?" And they said, "No." I said, "They fall off."
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
we've got to
Mhm.
be mindful of the things that were the rocket boosters for us in another season and the things that are falling off to allow us to ascend. They can't go with
Mhm.
us, They can't go with us. So there's no
Mhm.
need to chase them behind it, no need of trying to figure out how to keep it with you and keep it near you. And, it's got to fall off because you have to ascend in this season. Brother, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, sis, just what comes to my mind, my thoughts is, as you was referring to Abraham and the situation, describing the assignment and attachment, detachment or attachment. Um,
Attachments and assignments, the difference.
okay, and so assignment, when God gives an assignment, as you said, that's divine. But these attachments, like you said, they're things that we pick up along the way. And so when I think about what took place with Abraham, Haggai, the whole situation, there have to be a divorce because Yah prophesied this, of course, in Genesis. Say, hey, Abram, your people going to be in Egypt for 400 years. But we see the divorce took place with Ishmael, Haggai, and Abraham, Sarah, but that was attached had to be detached. There had to be a separation that took place, and so he said, "This is going to happen to your people. They're going to be in Egypt because Haggai was an Egyptian." So here we see what Yahweh said was going to take place before or while on his journey. This is going to happen to your people. They're going to be there 400 years. But then the time was going to come when the detachment is going to take place, the divorce is going to take place, because this the sin of the iniquities it's real strong, and I got to get you out of there. I got to divorce you from what you've been attached to for 400 years. And some people, when divorce comes, they have separation anxiety and all kinds of stuff because when you've been together with something a period of time, that's it has a tendency. It's there, and it's hard to let go something that you've been dealing with for a long time. It all depends on how long. Some people have been dealing with certain things in their life have on the journey that have been attached. So y'all say in this season, as you say, and this season, y'all's dealing with taking things away, divorcing you from situations, separating you in order to ascend, there has to be a spiritual get. There has to be a separation. There has to be that divorce that takes place in order to begin to ascend properly. Because you're only going to go so far and come back down because as you said about the rocket booster, that is just that's a perfect illustration because I'm into the rockets and the science and things like that, and they go so far, and the rocket booster just and it leaves, and then the spaceship is even lighter. There's now all that fuel, that attachment. So now I got to go. So now it can be able to go into orbit, really begin to ascend. So, like you said, we're here. We're here at this time. And y'all, it's just, I'm divorcing things that's been in your life, that's been attached to your life. What is that? What is those things that you've been attached to, that been around for a long time, from birth, culture? What's been there? What's been keeping you? But now we're here in this season, in this time now. Where I said, listen, whether you like it or not, there's some things that I'm going to take away from you. I'm going to separate. I'm going to separate now the wheat and the tare. There's a divorce. You've been attached together for so long now, and so we've been dealing with the tear and everything that it comes with, and what have you, all kind of stuff that's been there. And y'all say, "I'm getting rid of it." In order for you to ascend, this is what has to happen. It may not feel good, but it's for your good.
Oh my God, I promise you. That's so good. And it's so amazing. Blessings. I see my sister Barbara in the room. Blessings, sister. So amazing. And as you were talking about that connection to Egypt, I spoke yesterday about how we create our own devils for another season. We
Mhm,
create our own adversaries. And this is what happened with Abraham. See, a lot of the times we don't know. And but this is biblically founded that there are enemies that are created in one generation that knock on the door of the generations following. You know,
mm,
you get visitors because of what you create, and I don't think that that's a conversation enough for us, in this hour, because people are not understanding that what you do has impact on future generations. How you move,
mhm,
your discussion, your conversation is all going to have impact on future generations. And I don't think that Abraham understood that in that moment. He was simply trying to assist Yah with what he had
mhm,
promised.
mhm,
Not understanding
mhm,
he don't need no assistance with what he promised, besides the fact that we are just doing what he has designed us and called us to do. That's the only thing he's requiring, is that what he's
mhm,
asking of us, that we give him that.
mhm,
We talked
mhm,
about this
mhm,
yesterday, that the whole duty of man is to fear Yah and keep his commandments. I
mhm,
told you that's one of the verses that I teach all young people. That's the
mm,
very first thing that I talk to youth about. I
mhm,
don't talk about nothing else. I talk about that right there, because the word declares in
mhm.
Ecclesiastes that this is the
Chapter 12.
conclusion of the whole
A
matter.
whole matter. Yes.
This anything else that you want to discuss, okay, great. But this is the bottom line.
Mm,
That's
mm,
what the
mm,
conclusion of the whole matter is. The bottom line is that the fear of Yah has to be the priority.
mhm,
Keeping
mhm,
his commandments has to be the priority. And when that is the priority, we are building a generation of those that seek Father. And then there are generations that come out of that that are
Mm-hmm.
greater and greater iterations of the man that founded that particular
Mm-hmm.
way of walking. You know, with every generation,
Mm-hmm.
a thing is done better. So if it was wrong, it's even done wronger. If I would
Mm-hmm.
so you know, if I
Right,
could
right,
say so
right, right.
myself, okay, if you did it
Uh,
wrong, then they doing it wronger. Okay, because
wrong
every
become greater.
generation does it better than the other generation. You
Exactly,
understand what I'm saying?
exactly.
So I think it was
Mm-hmm.
so powerful that you mentioned this because Abraham had created an enemy, a spiritual enemy, and wasn't even aware of it. And this is why we got to deal with those things that we were talking about yesterday, because a lot of that, the insecurity and the hopelessness and the disappointment and the regret and all of the things that we
Mm-hmm.
were discussing yesterday, to the fathers now bringing up to the sons again to deal with that
Mm-hmm.
thing, because but what it's stemming from is the rejection that
Mm.
you've experienced
Ah,
on whatever level the rejection
oh.
was. And a lot of that had to do with familial rejection. It had to do with things that were
Mm-hmm.
close to you, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
marital, whether it was your mama, your daddy, your sister,
Mm-hmm.
sibling,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Your children, all
Mm-hmm.
of this has to do with coming from a place of rejection
Rejection.
or the
Yes.
understanding that I'm going to be rejected. Because even think about Moshe, right? The father's calling him
Mm-hmm.
to go back to Egypt. And he already knows that based on how he moved up out of that space, how he already knows he's not going to be accepted. So that's rejection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So based on his rejection, he don't know what to say. He doesn't have the
Mm-hmm.
words for
Mm-hmm.
that environment. But the father said, "No, I'll give you your brother Aaron. He can be your prophet, and you'll be to Pharaoh a god, and
Mm-hmm.
and Aaron or Aaron will be your prophet. Okay, but you're gonna go
Mm-hmm.
back in this space, and you're gonna do what I'm telling you to do because it's the only way to break
Mm.
this cycle that Abraham created this enemy in his day that you have to now go back and deal with. So the father's
Mm-hmm.
always going to use somebody in a generation to break a cycle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Moshe was the one that broke the cycle that Abraham started. Now understand, Abraham was blessed. And Abraham was a man that Yah loved. But what we have to understand is that unintentionally, a lot of times we're creating things. And this is why
Mm-hmm.
intercession is so important. This is why conversation with Yah is so important. This is why connection, divine connection with your tribe is so important, because there are enemies that you might not see and that you might not be aware of, that I might see or I might be aware of because I'm watching certain ways that you move or whatever. And I'm saying, listen, I'm taking up arms against this thing that's taking a position against you and against your bloodline.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you got to
Mm-hmm.
be in fellowship. And I ain't talking about church necessarily, although that could happen in those spaces. But you got to be in fellowship with the believers. You got to be in fellowship with the children of Yah, with his tribe, in order for these things to really be dealt with. Because, like I said yesterday, they don't go away. These things don't go
Mm-hmm.
away. They have to be dealt with head on. They got to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Come on, brother. I know you got something you want to share.
Ooh wee. Ah, is that what I missed yesterday? Oh my
Listen,
goodness. Listen, sister,
it's
sister.
live, brother. You
You
can go.
know,
It's recorded.
listen. You know, when you the key thing is you rejection,
Yeah.
and and so, but I dealt with this thing, and I
Hmm.
wanted to understand, where did it come from?
Yes.
Where did this spirit of rejection come from? Why is the spirit of rejection so strong that
Yes.
we can get, let's go there. I could get born. We were born in what we call the church. I was in my mama's womb in the Pentecostal church, and we grew up being saved. We understand what saved and sanctified, but we had all these things. And you talked about from generation to generation. It's just interesting. That when a female, when she sinned, it's instant. It's in the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye.
Yes.
When a male, when he disobeyed, it affects generations, third to the third and fourth generation.
My
That's why
God.
we call it the sins of the father.
Yes.
That goes to the third and fourth generation. And so now we're dealing with the generation where children don't know what didn't hit them. Because they've been punished for something that was done prior to them, and like you said, they're better at doing wrong,
Yeah.
but don't know understand why they doing wrong. But I want to uh, go to the beginning. I want to go to the beginning where this spirit of rejection, uh,
Yes.
that we really saw this.
Yes.
And we got to go. I'm going to go back to the Garden of Eden.
Yes. That's the beginning of all of that.
Again, that rejection, because what happened, disobedience came in,
Yes.
disobedience, and it opened up the portal for every disease, sickness, and all kind of things that will attach. But it's the interesting thing. Disobedience turns Yahweh against us and
Yes.
reject us. And so we come see we are spiritual beings, but
Yes.
when the spirit being, the creator, the most high, return his back, so to speak, and say, I'm not paying you no attention. We feel it, and our spiritual being is so strong, and that's why it's so there all the time. It's nagging, it's just
Yes.
I can't. And so then we begin to carry from generation to generation to
Yes.
generation to generation, and then
Yes.
all of a sudden we dealing with all this rejection on every level in
Yes.
life. So
Hmm.
when we walk in disobedience, we open up we open up that portal of all kinds of things to be attached. And whatever shape our environment, whatever shape our culture and what have you, that deals with disobedience or deal with the mixture, we're gonna
Yep.
always deal with that area of rejection that has so many fruits. See, we see the fruits of it, but we don't never
Mm.
deal with the root.
Mm. That's it.
We don't deal with the root. Just like you said, let's hit a conclusion of the whole matter.
Whole matter.
And the whole matter is, listen, obey Yahweh. It's
And
just
keep his
that.
commandments.
Absolutely. If we do this, when we do this, then we don't have to worry about the mixture and dealing with the area of rejection. Because as long as you are in that lukewarm, they're gonna reject you, whether you're hot or cold. You lukewarm, you're gonna be rejected by
Oh yeah.
Yahweh, and then you're gonna be rejected
And
by the
man.
world,
And
by
mankind.
man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we see this, and so I'm like, yeah, we got to deal with this from the origin,
At the
because
roots.
when you looked at Yah, and when Yeshua, the Messiah was on the stake, and all that sin was there, that's rejection.
Yeah,
Yah
he
couldn't
had
do
to be
nothing.
rejected.
Yeah, he couldn't do nothing with that. That's sin on him. I
Hmm.
can't help him. But he had to deal with that spirit of rejection.
Yes.
It doesn't feel good.
It
It
does
doesn't
not.
feel good on different levels. It doesn't feel good. So there are many people I know that's dealing with rejection on different areas. Like you was calling out the list the day before yesterday. You
Yeah.
calling out that list. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
there's aggressive reaction, there's self-rejection, and
Yep.
there's the fear of self-rejection. All these things, and that's the list goes on and on and on. Today, the list is even greater
Yes.
than it was 20 years ago.
Absolutely. And it's all stemming from that rejection. It's so crazy because something that the father said is just such a powerful testimony to the sons, something to take into consideration. But we don't often finish this verse that talks about my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, right?
Hmm.
I hear that
Hmm.
all the time. For one, we don't understand that the lack of knowledge is the knowledge of who the Father is. If you don't know
Hmm.
who you
Hmm.
serve, then how can you serve? And if you don't know who you serve, how can you serve in the capacity that He desires you to serve? You could always call yourself His, but if you don't align yourself with who He is, then how can you serve Him? I used to say a thing all the time back in the day. It can't be for Him unless it's first of Him.
Hmm.
Because a lot of
Hmm.
people are trying to give something to Him, but it's not of Him. You know,
Hmm.
I don't eat
Hmm.
meat. So if you have a party for me, it would have to be of me, something that is of what I do and how I move.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't gonna put no
Mm-hmm.
slabs, racks of ribs and pork on no grill talking about we having a party for you. It's just not
Wrong
gonna
party.
work. It's not
No.
my party. That's somebody else's party. That's your party. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
same
Mm-hmm.
thing that the Father said to Israel, after he had taken them through all of these things and they had seen his hand move and he had proven himself to them and they still rejected him. Then he said, you know what? I hate your feast days, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And your offerings too, they stink too. He wasn't saying that
Mm-hmm.
what he created stunk or that it was worthless, but he was saying how you guys are doing what was
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
me doesn't any longer
Mm-hmm.
represent me.
Mm-hmm.
So in
Mm-hmm.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, the conversation goes, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because thou hast rejected knowledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
because you have rejected knowledge, I will also reject you, that you won't be a priest to me. You'll be no priest to me.
Mm-mm.
Seeing that thou
Mm-mm.
hast forgotten the law of your God, I will also forget your children too.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Ooh, rejected.
such a serious matter to understand the things that we put into motion. How they affect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've got a grace in this hour because of the finished work that the Master did. You know what I'm saying? And that grace is that
Mm-hmm.
every man is going to pay for his own sin. However, there are
Mm-hmm.
still things, like I said, that visit to the third and fourth generation of those that hate the Father. Notice he said those that
Mm-hmm.
hate. He said, but those that love me, I will send blessing,
Mm-hmm.
eternal blessing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to
Mm-hmm.
identify the reality of who he is and what he does so that when there is a foul play,
Mm-hmm.
foul on the field, we can call the foul. We could throw the flag out there and say, nah, that ain't so, because I know that the generation before me and the generation before that, there were some things that were put in play. And I'm aware of the
Mm-hmm.
righteousness of those generations. So what you're doing is trespassing. You trying to bring something from another generation, and then you got to deal with two sides of the family too. Oh my God, there's so many dynamics of things, right? And these aren't things that are being taught, but it would behoove us to really take some time to teach the young people the importance of decisions. The importance of decisions. Because, man, when I tell you, if I knew then what I know today, oh my goodness, I'd be in a whole nother place, in a whole nother position. And as much as I love my children, I hear people say, I wouldn't change a thing. Oh, you a lie, because I would.
Yeah.
I would certainly change some things.
Oh, for
I
real,
would
for
certainly change
real.
some things. I'm sorry. And I don't know if I would have the same children or not. I just believe that they were given to me based on all of the circumstances. And, but I would definitely change some things because it would be a benefit to the generations after me. So why would I not if I had the opportunity to fix it? But I have no regrets. Understand that. I have
Yes.
no regrets. And that's the blessing of the whole thing. That yes, I have stepped in some directions and I've missed some things and I've decided some things, but they were just based on the information that I had in that hour. But thanks be unto God that always causes us to triumph. He's given us the victory. Even in some of the worst decisions that we've made, he's given us the victory. And those things now become servants to us in our next and in our now. They become a servant to us. He said, I'm going to make it all work together for your good. For the good of them that love me and are called according to my purpose. That means there has to be some alignment there. And when there is alignment there and there's a love relationship there, then guess what? All of the things that happened to you and that you did, okay, are now working as servants to you and for your good.
Familiar
For
spirit.
your good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm-mm. Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. I want to go there real quick because there were some things that stood out to me concerning this conversation. The Father said, listen, I divided the descendants of Adam, set up borders for the tribes that were corresponding to the number of the sons of Israel. I established some things, but even in that establishment, he then began to pull out of that what was for him. He divided some things. You hear what I'm saying? He divided, but he also established in that dividing some things what was going to be for him, you know. And that nation that he chose is who we are today, both spiritually and naturally. Spiritual Israel, or the Hebrews, I will say spiritual Israel, it's a real thing. And once we identify who we are and understand that spiritual Israel doesn't have anything to do with just the color of your skin, because even in the original covenant, people could come into the relationship and then walk out with the chosen ones and become as they are. So, like we said the other day, salvation didn't start in the New Testament or in the New Covenant. It already existed. Okay. What happened with the sacrifice was it put us in a position where we would not any longer have to do all the works to protect ourselves. We wouldn't have to slay lambs anymore, and do all of these things, and send a goat out into the wilderness and lay our hands on his head and transmute the sin of the nation to the goat, and send. We don't have to do any of that anymore, because now the final sacrifice has made the atonement already available to us. All we have to do is accept the atonement now. All we have to do is accept that salvation, but he chose us, and he chose us for purpose. I'm going to go back to the opening in a minute, but he chose us for purpose. And I want to talk about tonight how we have received this charge as diplomats. I put in here ambassadors, but understand that when he had the conversation with me originally, I had to really ask him some questions about what he wanted to talk about. And when he began to have the conversation, he began to unfold some things. That ambassadorship is one of the higher ranking situations. But I believe that even as it pertains to spiritual things, there are some levels. You know what I mean? Just like we in the kingdom, there's discipleship first. There's an introduction, then there's the discipleship, and all of these things they take shape as we are going through the processes that are necessary for us to become what we need to become. But this diplomacy, this diplomatic situation is so serious, because I'm not seeing it on a spiritual level as he spoke it to me even when I was 16. I'm still not seeing it, brother. And I know that people have gone over the waters and they've said they were missionaries and they were sent and all of that. But the only thing that they took with them was the stuff that they took with them. They didn't take him with them, because now people were more dependent on them coming back year to year, but they didn't leave anything there that left a mark that he had been there. So the people became more dependent upon the things that they brought with them and the God that they revealed to them. And so I believe that this is a season that the Father's going to raise up his diplomats, his ambassadors. We've been through some training, and there's still training to go through, because on each level there's some more training in order to get to that ambassadorship level, right? However, the goal is us to follow this mandate that's been given. And I'm just not seeing the mandate being followed. I'm not seeing the mandate. I'm seeing a lot of itinerant preaching and all of these things, but I don't see the mandate. And I talked a little bit about this last night. Blessings to those that are coming on. I see my sister, Prophet Merlin, and I also see Prophet Giselle. Love you guys. Thank you for being on with me. I see, a lot of itinerant preaching, and I see a lot of conferences and a lot of different things happening, but I don't see enough going. I see enough coming, see a lot of coming into spaces, but I don't see enough sending or enough going to do the work. We're reading about the work, but are we doing the work? And how we get to this place of doing the work, I gave this example, I believe, last night. But those of you who have been with me for a while, you've heard me talk about this before. This mandate that we've been given, this charge that we've been given as the diplomats of the kingdom, come through our occupation. It's a thing that a lot of people overlook, because they somehow see the kingdom lifestyle separate from their occupation. But it's a part of it, because if you are doing the work that's been assigned to your hand, whatever that is, whether it's carpentry or whatever it is, tent making or whatever, right? It's going to take you into spaces and it's going to make people available to you
Mhm.
because they have
Mhm.
need of what you're producing, but they also
Mhm.
encounter who you are when they have need of what you're producing,
Mhm.
you know? And so that
Mhm.
occupation is so important because the call on your life is fulfilled by the gifts,
Mhm. Mhm.
the gifts that you use begin to tie into the call. And now people are able to see what it is and who it is that you serve.
Mhm.
What this God
Mhm.
is about, who he is
Mhm.
visible
Mhm.
through the work of your hands,
Mhm.
through what you're gifted to do. Now he can
Mhm.
see, others can see him in you because of what you do and
Mhm.
what you produce, whether it's service, you know, you remember Solomon was the host extraordinaire. Okay.
Mhm.
Even the Queen of Sheba had to come and see. She said when she got there, didn't even do justice. What they told her didn't even do justice to what she saw and what she experienced.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
she was impacted by what he created, the environment that he created. And people were impacted by it. That's why they went and told her about it.
Mhm.
Because they were impacted by it. But this ambassadorship is a serious thing, and
Mhm.
we must understand and accept the charge
Mhm.
as ambassadors.
Mhm.
Say something, brother, because I
Mhm.
don't want you to have to leave before you talk.
Ooh-wee. Oh yeah, I do have to.
Because you getting comfortable, you just chilling. You ain't even
Oh
interrupted.
my, oh my goodness. Listen, that ambassador and oh my goodness. So what's interesting is, let me start here and then go to the deal as you was talking about the ambassadors. And, it's interesting that you know uh, every every perfect gift comes from Yah.
Yes.
Gifts and calling without repentance. So it's not a
Yes.
religious thing.
It's
It's not
not.
a religious thing. So we come here there, and so as you said, it connects back to who we are, where we come from.
Yeah.
It does because the gift that we have is perfect. Now, connecting that to the ambassador, because when I look at the commandments, there's positives and there's prohibitions
Yeah.
because these laws is what's permitted and what's not permitted, what is
Hmm.
lawful or what is unlawful. So he gives us, and people say, "Oh, I got the key." We talked about that key.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Mm.
and so as I'm looking at this particular scripture in Matthew chapter 18, he says, chapter 18, verse 18, "Truly I say unto you, whatever ye declare to be unlawful on earth is that
Yes.
which is been declared unlawful in heaven. And
Yes.
whatever you declare to be lawful on earth will be which has been declared lawful in heaven." So
Yes.
so it says these are the keys. Here's the keys. He's given us
Mm.
the
Mm.
key as an ambassador. What is that? So here is the commandments. What is permitted and what's not permitted, what is lawful and
Mm.
what's not lawful. What you declare, what you do, you speak, and I'm giving you the key to speak on my behalf.
Yes.
And so reason one of the things why we don't see it because they said they took the landmark away
Mm.
and say, hey, don't look back, don't look back. Don't
Mm.
look back. Just stay forward because it's a whole new thing. This is a
Mm.
whole new thing now that we have what we have done. It's all new. But Yah said, no, I want to renew because I want you to look back. Because if you're going to renew, if you're going to restore, you got to go back. If you're
Yeah.
going to redeem, you got to go back. So they
Yeah.
talk about new. Then we try to figure out why the things that is not happening because we talk about keys. So they make up all kind of keys
Oh my God.
that to use because they're going forward without nothing to go on.
No
There's no
foundation.
no foundation. There's no representation. So they're decreeing what is lawful and unlawful. It doesn't have nothing to do with Yah, and so therefore we don't see nothing done. We'll see people go over to the foreign field. We see them go over there with Bibles, but they still don't have the key. They
They
don't
don't have
have, they're not a representation. They're not the true ambassador of Yah, because when you are that true ambassador
come
of
on.
Yah, you coming and you're saying what he said because you got all of authority and right to use what he used
That's it.
in the earth. You're
That's it.
sovereign, but now you got authority over earthly things to
Mm.
use. So I can declare what is permitted, what is
Yep.
lawful, and I can declare what is not, because I've declared what he said. He said, "Now I'm up in my place, but I'm giving this to you to
Yes.
operate in. And when you do this and you use your gifts that I've given you, so it goes into that occupation,
Mhm.
that gift. So when you're operating in your occupation, and so you're operating in that perfect gift. Because now
Mhm.
my foundation as an ambassador, they'll see who I am based on who
Yes.
he is.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And in this, it aligns with, and so when we look at this, we see that, where these laws come from in the earth that we're living in, right? In the world that we're living in. They're taking parts and pieces of the scripture and make, because they understand this thing works. This
Mm-hmm,
works.
mm-hmm,
The United States has the Foreign Service, right? And I'm like,
mm-hmm,
I'm looking at this from a whole nother perspective in this season of my life. And I'm like, this is crazy.
mm-hmm,
This Foreign Service is the diplomatic arm of a nation's government. And
mm-hmm,
it's responsible for managing its international relations,
mm-hmm,
representing its interests abroad,
mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
conducting diplomacy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the Foreign Service is a part of the U.S. Department of State, and its members work in embassies. That's why we have embassies in places, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about what I was being exposed to on a different level, right? Because I saw these things as separate. I didn't really, well, I knew the ambassadors were connected to embassies, but it was some pieces like the consulates and the missions around the world and the different components that I just didn't see them as connected, but they are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
They're different
Mm-hmm.
facets and different perspectives of the same work, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other countries
Mm-hmm.
like United Kingdom or the UK, Canada, France, they have similar foreign service organizations. But the whole goal of the foreign service organization is for that person to represent that government and its culture.
Mm-hmm.
Remember we were talking about culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Its
Mm-hmm.
culture and how it does what it does. Its culture, its
Mm-hmm.
covenants, all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some of the key responsibilities of this foreign service is diplomatic relations, right?
Mm-hmm.
That means
Mm-hmm.
representing their country's government in dealings with foreign governments and international organizations. You got to negotiate
Mm-hmm.
treaties and manage
Mm-hmm.
diplomatic communications and promote peace.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all this
Mm-hmm.
interaction, right? And what is
Mm-hmm.
this? What does this look like from a kingdom perspective?
Mm-hmm.
How have we as a people of Yah stepped into this space as foreign diplomats of the kingdom of Yah, agents of his kingdom? How have we done this? And understand, I'm very clear that everything has its time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything has its time. There's a time for everything. But it's been said that this is what's been being done. But really, what was being done was this diplomatic situation that was coming out of the government of the worlds, the governments of the world, and not the government of Yah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where then is his representation
Mm-hmm.
on this level? Where is he?
Mm-hmm.
Where is
Mm-hmm.
the economic monitoring in the spirit?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we monitoring how things are moving? Now
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've had intercession And we ran for almost 10 years, and we did a lot of this. And I ran into a couple of other people that had prayer lines, but it's not the norm.
No.
When we talk about intercession and prayer lines, we talk about people getting on and praying about whatever the heck they want to pray about. They are not surveying the land in the spirit. They are not spiritually mapping out anything. They're just talking about whatever they want to talk about and praying about whatever they feel, including if it's their self on the corporate line. You know, I've just been baffled over the years. Like, what are we doing exactly? You know, you got the consular services, which deals with the citizens living or traveling abroad by providing and issuing visas and assisting legal matters and helping it's passports and evacuations. You know, you got all of these different things. And when we talk about the angels, right? This would be that perspective that Yah would be sending. And I prophesied this some years ago, and I believe I talked about it here, that he's going to be sending us into these foreign spaces to begin to represent him on a level that he's never been represented before. I've mentioned it before that as it pertains to peace and as it pertains to restoring some things, you know, as the sons of Yah, we would have authority to even bend down and touch the ground, and then resources that didn't even belong in that area would show up as a way to support those nations. And those that are powers that think they be would be wondering, now, how did I get over there? Because I know that that's in one of them areas that we don't let nobody go into. You know, that's in one of them areas that don't nobody get to fly over. Right? But somehow it wound up in this place over here, and we ain't never seen that there before. In the history of us being in that area and raping that area, we've never seen this as a resource. But things like this have to occur in order for Yah to be seen. This is how he's going to be seen. Promoting trade and development, cultural exchange, all of that's great. But his will has to be done, and his culture has to be discussed. Right? This is what we do as a country. We go over into places, and what are we doing? We are turning people to do our thing our way. You know, there's a word for this that's always on my mind and always on my lips, but right now it's eluding me. But they go over there and they change the culture. You know, you go to Africa 50 years ago, running around in their drawers. Colonizing, thank you, colonization. And now they got on Nike shirts and t-shirt and tennis shoes and blue jeans. And the witch doctor, I'm sorry, they moved all of his stuff out of its space, and now they doing the real witchy stuff, which is the medications of America. Okay. He really doing the witchy stuff now. But the one that was natural, he done took all his stuff off the shelf too and been turned into a witch. You know, it's a real place. We have got to understand in this hour that we are crossing over into something that's so dynamic. And we got to be aware that all that we've dealt with was a preparation for this time. Go ahead and share. No, you got to go in a minute.
In Psalm 23, verse 5, he said, "You prepared a table before us in the presence of our enemies. You have anointed our head with oil, and our cup overflow." So he's prepared. He's prepared us to go into these places. He said, "I prepared this table." What is the table? It's not a Thanksgiving table.
It's not.
It's not. It's not a Christmas table. It's not your birthday party table. The tables are the first 5 books.
Yes.
Those are called tables. What's in those tables? What are in the tables? His laws, his commandments. That's what's in that's the way of doing things. He said, now if you do this, because I'm sending you with my authority in the land that you don't know about. Well, it's been occupied by my enemy. but I'm
Mm-mm-mm.
going to send you there in the presence of my enemies.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you are my ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
When you go and you're gonna declare this land is mine, based upon what how you walk in obedience to me, because as you do this, I'm going to be an enemy and drive them out.
Oh
But I
my God.
need you to walk in my obedience, because they got to see you in me. Yes, it looks different. It sounds different. Y'all been making, there have been treaties down through the years. Y'all would say, don't make no treaty with them,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
because
Not at
you
all.
you made one. You made one. I got one with you.
That's it.
This is an eternal treaty. But don't
Yes.
break it, because if you break it, this is going to happen. This is
Mm-hmm.
what's going to happen. And that treaty is still stands today. And the
Yeah.
world, the system, the beastly system has taken some of those words of the treaty that Yah had with us and mixed it up.
Yes, they have.
Righteousness, he said, there's a way that seemeth right to a man,
Seems
but
right.
the end, it's the end of it's death.
Oh my
You
God.
you're gonna see the righteous. It's gonna draw you. It's gonna draw you. And the next thing you know, when you get in, it's death. You're
Come
gonna
on.
people make oaths and what have you. Oh, we're doing this for the sake of community. We're doing this for the sake of mankind.
True.
We're doing this with and what have you. And when you make an oath, it's not unto Yahweh.
It is not.
And what you've done, you've sold your generations to the third and fourth generations, to the diabolical portals that comes in and affects the children to the third and fourth generation, that children don't even have a clue, because y'all would say, listen, you broke. I've given you everything that you need to go into a foreign land. This
Mm-mm.
land is not, this land is foreign. But if you go into this foreign land, this is what I'm going to do. You're going to be my ambassador. So when you step on the ground,
My God.
when you put your feet on the ground,
I
because
promise
you are holy, the ground said, Moshe, take off your sandals.
you. Take your shoes off.
Why the ground you stand on is holy. So
So Joshua to
wherever I am, because of who he is, I am. And wherever I stand, it's holy. Why? Because I'm in righteousness. And
that's
Yah
it.
cannot destroy, Yahweh will not, like Abraham said, Yah, you will not destroy the righteous with the wicked, will you?
No, he will not.
He can't.
He
He
won't do
can't
it.
destroy himself.
No,
So
no.
that so therefore that light shine. So that light shines. So now where I stand, that's righteous ground. That
Yes.
means, as you understand, as we understand embassy and ambassadors and all these things. So when we are in a foreign country and the beastly system, what takes place is anyone that is foreign, they say, listen, there's things that happening, we're trying to escape. You can come to that ground, because that ground is sacred. It's sacred. You
That's
can't
it.
touch it.
The embassy. That's it. Get to the embassy. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's one of the things. But
Yep.
so when you look at the embassies now, because they have broken their own treaties and all like that, they're infiltrating. But you
Yep.
cannot infiltrate when Yah said, I will build a hedge around you
Come
that
on.
nobody can touch you. This
That's
land
it.
is sovereign. So
That's it.
little by little, we taking getting Yahweh's land back to where it's
That's it.
supposed to be.
That's it. That's it. I promise you, you're right. I promise you, you're right. We got to get it back because he made some promises, and those promises still stand today. The promises that he made to Noah, the promises that he made to Adam, the promises that he made to Moshe. All of those promises are part of our inheritance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They have not ceased. They are still promises that he has to keep perpetuating throughout the generations. Listen, he said this in Deuteronomy. I think this kind of aligns with what you were saying. I love this verse, by the way. Do I want to read that one? Yeah. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 6 through 8.
Mm-hmm.
He talked about his laws.
Mm-hmm.
He said, keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom. We're looking for all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
other wisdom, you know? We're looking for all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
other solutions. He said, no, if you keep and do the thing that I've given you to do, that I've instructed you to do, That is going to be your wisdom. That's how people are going to see you. In the sight of the people, this is going to be your
Mm,
wisdom. So when they hear all these statutes, they're going to say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. He said, how you're going to be seen is going to be based on how you deal with what I'm telling you, what I've told you to do. Because they're going to ask the question, for what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call upon him? What other nation you know can call on their God and get a response? He said, do you understand how this works? I need to be able to send you into a place so that you can be an example to nations. I've got to be able to send you somewhere. You know, it's a saying back in the old days where people say, you can't take them nowhere. That's how I feel, right? You can't take these folks nowhere. They don't know how to act. They don't know what to do. You
They
know,
baby kids.
they kids. I'm telling you, don't
Oh
know
my
how to
goodness.
act. Oh my God. He said, listen, I am Yah. I have called
Mm-hmm.
you in righteousness. He said, and it's so easy for you. He said, listen, I'm gonna make it so easy for you because I'm gonna take you by the hand and keep you.
Mm.
I'm gonna give you as a covenant for the people, a light for the nations. He just keep talking about these nations. Why is this such a concern of his? Because he chooses a people and makes them what he needs to make them to reach the other nations, to be the example of his glory and his goodness, so that they will see and be like, you know what? Yeah, something about that. That's what made some of those Egyptians join with the Hebrew children and say, you know, we going with y'all.
Absolutely,
They said,
absolutely.
no. We didn't see all this stuff go on. This is serious. Something so serious got to take place in these regions, brother. And they got to see his hand so strong that it makes them bend the knee, even when they didn't believe, even when they were serving other gods. I shared with them yesterday, and I think I shared it the other day. Paul did such a work in that area. I believe it was Acts chapter 22. I'm not sure. Let me look it up. But they burned their books. They began to burn their books.
Yes,
All
yes,
of the things
yes.
that they operated from, all of the witchcraft, all of the things that they had learned, all of the traditions that were separate and in opposition to who Yah was and what he desired of mankind. They burned their books. You know they wasn't happy with Paul. Come here, changing the trajectory of a nation.
Listen.
This is what we rely on. That we keep them in captivity based on these things. Can you imagine what that would look like? To go into some of the most impoverished and famine-driven nations in these third world countries and bring him to that space and release his glory in that space for them to see him and train them how to have relationship with the Father and see that land just flourish. Water
Oh
just
my.
coming up out the ground. You know what I'm
Come
saying?
on now.
Crops just growing. You hear what I'm saying? All
Oh, in a
because a
desert.
nation has turned back to him.
Mm. When Yah has used the salt and dry as a weapon to dry them down, Yah would say, "Now I'm gonna make rivers in a desert place now."
Come on now, that's what he promised. That's what he said.
hmm
That's
And
what he
I'm here in Arizona. I'm looking for some of these deserts to open up.
Yes, and they will because they've opened up in certain places.
hmm
They literally
hmm
have places that were desert places, and I believe one of those moeds I was showing. This might have been last year that I was showing how some of these people had been just graced to grow in desert spaces, and how when you begin to grow something, and it's how you deal with the land, how you grade it and how you deal with it, how you put the plants in place so that when it does rain, check it out, you are capturing the water. Oh my God. I feel this thing in my spirit so seriously because this is a spiritual matter. so that when you are positioned and you're positioned to receive the seed, you allow around your soul to just be dug around. You know what I'm saying? Around your spirit, just digging around. You got to allow the Father to work by His Spirit in your life, so that there's a trench built around what's being planted, so that when the water happens, when the rain falls, it captures the water. It captures the water. So now when you start capturing the water like that, you start building that water table back out. Now this is just coming up in my spirit right now, because once that water goes down into the ground repetitively, and there starts being a table there, now the table is expanding every time it rains. So now
You would
you
never.
opened up something. You have opened up something now, just because of how you graded the land. You are the land. You are. You know, you're that land. But the Father wants to deal with your land so that He can send you to lands. Say something, brother, because I know you got to go in a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah. I'm just, yeah. I just want to leave the thought where leave this thought in the scripture. Do Exodus chapter 23, verse
Yes,
25. It says, and you shall serve Yahweh your Father, and He will
yes.
bless your bread and your
And
water, and
mm,
I will take sickness
from
away
among
from the midst of you. And
my
then,
God.
secondly, He says. Um, uh, that in Psalms, I make you to lie down in green pastures
Yes,
where
Lord.
where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Lead you beside the still
uh,
water.
yeah, there's a scripture that says your leaf will not wither.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. I know what you're
hmm
talking
Because there's that flow. There's that constant flow by the river. What is it?
Yes.
Is that Psalm?
Psalm 1. It's Psalm chapter 1,
Yeah, yeah.
verse 3. Plant you by the
Uh-huh.
rivers of water
Which yield its fruit in
in
its
its
season.
season.
The leaf will not wither. Wherever this man does will it. So there's going to be the season is going to be ongoing.
Yep.
The leaf would never. There will never be a season that stop. The season is going to be flowing
Perpetual.
all the time, perpetual,
Yes.
because
Yes.
the water is being fed by the water of the river,
Mm,
and the leaf will not wither. Period.
my
And that
God.
talks about in Revelations
That's what I was going to say.
about that
Absolutely.
river.
Yep. Yep.
But it
Oh, my God.
says,
Mm.
I know, I know, I got to go. I don't want to go, but I got to go. And to everyone
You have
that is
made some
listening,
commitments, and you got to keep that
listen.
commitment, brother.
Yes, yes.
Keep that
And
commitment.
so I will be with you on tomorrow on the
Absolutely.
eighth
I'm
day,
excited.
and I'm looking to connect with all of those who are on, and even more. Let's make this an exciting time.
Yes.
That's making this exciting time on that eighth day. My sister, she's been obedient to Yah, and Yah blesses her because of her obedience. And listen, you are blessed because we are in a place now that Yah saying greater than the past,
Oh, yeah.
double. It's double for your double for all the things that you went in, double for the things that you created for the wickedness, and double for the
Yes.
righteous that has gone forth.
Oh, my
So no
God.
matter what, everything is double, is
It's
greater
all
than the
double.
past. And
Mm.
so I just want to leave that with you right there, sis. I love you forever,
Love you
and
forever, brother.
listen, and all my brothers and sisters in law that's via Facebook, YouTube, or whatever platform you're on. I love you forever. See you tomorrow.
Shalom,
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
shalom, shalom. We appreciate our brother Apostle Ace for coming and spending this time with us. We're going to continue. I'm not going to hold you for 2 hours tonight. At least that's not the plan. Let me not say what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say what I'm going to do, because I don't know if that's exactly true. I don't I don't know if that's exactly true. But I believe that this, this is our time, and that the things that we have and the things that we've been challenged with were all about this particular time that we are in. And I just want to give you some more of the scriptures that the Father shared with me to share with you tonight, because He wants you to have He wants your perspective to change about who you are. He wants you to understand that as a people that have been chosen to follow a specific law, follow specific instructions. This is covenant. This is the holiness of Yah, to follow His covenants and the purpose. But He wants us to do it before the world. It's not a secret. And this is why we have to get into our occupation. We have to get into our positions so that what He is doing in us and through us is visible and is being sent out. It's leaving where you are and it's going somewhere, right? If you got product, it's going somewhere. Why is it going somewhere? Because it's something that He's blessed your hands to do. And these are the things that the enemy challenges. He challenges the occupation. He challenges that because he doesn't want what you have to be released to the world, because it's something on what you have. The grace of Yah is upon what you have. The glory of Yah is upon what you have. And so this is the hour that you're going to begin to open your mouth and you're going to begin to show who you really are, because you're not just quoting Bible verses, right? But you have a word in season for the weary. You have a word in season for those that are dealing with some things. It's not just out of your emotions. You know what? If I was you, I wouldn't fool with them folks. And no. It's not just out of your emotions, but it is a word of wisdom that is for the weary, that positions them to honor their Father and to put forth that expression of who He is in whatever capacity, in whatever space they're in. It's so important that we understand who we are. Go to Exodus chapter 19. I'm reading from the ESV. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice, this is Exodus 19, 5 and 6. If you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples. For the earth is mine, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. This reveals the Father's intention for us, that we're special. That we are special, serving as kingdoms of priests and a holy nation. This is a distinguishing factor from other people, from other nations. He makes a difference. He does. He makes a difference between people. Those that serve Him, He makes a difference between them. I have lots of grandchildren, and there are some of them, I love them all equally. And some would say that some of them are my favorite. That's not true. They just have a specific relationship with me. They are tapped in. They could come in the room, put their hand in a bag where others will come in and ask. The other one will come in and put their hand in the bag. Well, I got my hand in the bag, because they know they got it like that. It's not about favoritism. The other one is timid and not sure, or should I ask, or what? You know what I'm saying? And this is the truth. We've got to understand our identity in order to receive what it is that we're desiring of Yah. And what is the thing that most people are desiring? They just want to be at peace. They want to be blessed. But guess what? We can be blessed and be at peace if we obey, if we follow the instructions. He said this in Deuteronomy 7, 6 and 8. He said, for you are a people holy to me. The Lord your God has chosen you to be a people for His treasured possession. You notice this treasured possession keeps coming up. You know what people do with their treasured possessions? They don't make their treasured possessions vulnerable to other things. It's something that they keep for themselves. He said, out of all the peoples who are on the face of the earth, you're going to be my treasured possession. It was not because you were more in number than any other people that I set my love on you and chose you, for you were the fewest of all peoples, but it is because the Lord loves you and is keeping the oath that He swore to your fathers. Remember, I told you it's still covenant that is being kept concerning us. There is still covenant that is being kept concerning us as the children of Yah in this season. Deuteronomy, I read you 4, 6, and 8. I'm going to read it again, though. He said, keep them and do them. What's he talking about? His covenant, His statutes, His laws. Keep them and do them. And the Master made it simple for us to fulfill the law. He said, if you love the Father with all your heart, mind, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself, that means you have a responsibility to know Him so that you'll know who you are, so that you can have an appreciation for yourself. Because guess what? You're not going to appreciate nobody else, and you're not going to know how to appreciate anybody else until you first learn to appreciate yourself. The way that I do what I do for other people is because I appreciate me. And so I do to them as I would have them do to me. That's how all of that connects. It's not just about the act, it's about the heart. Keep them and do them. Even as it pertains to stuff like YouTube. When I go on other people's YouTube and I'm learning things, when I'm learning things, if I'm going on somebody's YouTube to learn how to do something in my programs or my applications, Photoshop or anything like that, and I want to learn a new technique or something like that, I like and subscribe to things that help me. I like and subscribe. Why? Because that's what they need to be able to flourish in that space. So why would I not like and subscribe and then come over here and expect other people to like and subscribe to me? I'm only going to receive what I release. I'm only going to receive what I sow. I'm not going to receive what anybody else sows, but I'm definitely going to receive what I sow. Keep them and do them, for that will be your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the peoples, who, when they hear all these statutes, will say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. You concerned about how people see you? Obey Yah. Don't be a people pleaser, be a Yah pleaser. And while you're pleasing Yah, then they're going to see the wisdom and the understanding of the thing that you are involved in the relationship that you are involved in the ways that you're involved with your king. And they're going to say, for what great nation is there that has a God so near to it as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call upon him? Isaiah 49:6. It says, is it too light a thing that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to bring back the preserved of Israel? I will make you as a light for the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth. You say, why are you reading all these verses? Because I want you to understand your identity and the purpose that the Father has made you a person is for the purpose of gathering the peoples, gathering the nations unto himself. Isaiah 42:6 says, I am Yah. I have called you in righteousness, and I will take you by the hand and keep you. I will give you as a covenant for the people, a light for the nations. He said, I will give you as a covenant for the people. Didn't we see that happen with the Mashiach? He gave the Mashiach as a covenant for the people and a light for the nations. Amos chapter 3, verse 2. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. Why is the Father so hard on his people? Because he has put his name on them. And how people see us is how they see him. You hear what I'm saying? Deuteronomy 26:18 and 19. It says, and Yah has declared today that you are a people for his treasured possession. That's the language of how he sees you as a son of Yah, as a daughter of Yah, as a treasured possession. But the treasured possession is only treasured when it is in its proper position, as he has promised you, and that you are to keep all his commandments, and that he will set you in a praise and in fame and in honor high above all the nations that he has made, and that you shall be a people holy to Yah as he promised. Here's one more for you. Psalm 147:19 through 20. He said, he declares his word to Jacob, his statutes and rules to Israel. He has not dealt thus with any other nation. They do not know his rules. Praise Yah. They don't know his rules. But when he begins to share and to shed light on who he is and what he desires, that's a privilege. I'm telling you, the world at large that call themselves believers has taken so lightly the fact that they've been chosen to do a work. But chosen to do what? Not to sit in church, not to just show up on Sundays and Wednesdays. Chosen to do what? To be a representative of a kingdom, of an unshakable kingdom. The master said it like this in John chapter 15. He said, you didn't choose me, I chose you. And I appointed you to go and bear fruit. Not just fruit for a season. Brother just brought Psalm 1 to bear. He said, listen, it's a perpetual fruiting. Because the master said here, I appointed you to go bear fruit that will remain. So that whatever you ask the Father in my name, he will give you. So now it goes back to the conversation that I had about what you become is what you begin to release and what you begin to see. Because if you have a certain fruit and the fruit remains, then that fruit is the thing that the Father is looking at to determine his response to you. He's seeing himself in you. He's seeing his word alive in you. He's seeing that word, and when he sees that word, he responds to it. The Bible declares that he's the God that follows after his word to perform it. It's a performing word. It's a word that he follows after. Hurry up and close this door. He follows after that word to perform it. It's a performing word. It's not just words, empty words, but it performs something. Go ahead, close the door. It performs something. It's not just for conversation, it's for manifestation. And that's what we've got to understand, that even as an ambassador, as a representative that's sent with authority, we're sent with that authority to act on the behalf of a sovereign. That's who Yah is. He's sovereign. This is what he chose us for. He chose us to do something, and that doing has to do with the fruiting, and the fruiting has to do with what is being provided for those that need sustenance. The world needs sustenance. They need Yah. But if we don't take him to them, and we just take things to them, and we take our own ideas, and we go and colonize spaces with uh, uh, devilish doctrines. I'm going to say it like that, with demonic doctrines, devilish doctrines of devils. There's a lot of that going around right now. Doctrines of devils, right? If we do that, then what culture and what value and what then does the mission look like? Because that's what ambassadors represent. They represent their sovereign, reflecting the values, the culture, and the mission of that kingdom that they are representatives of. And it sounds good to talk about it, but now the Father is saying, listen, get something in your hand. Do something with your hands. Do something that can be given. Do something that can be handed out. You know, these corporations, these major corporations, they are doing it big. You know why? Because they want to reach more people. They want to reach more people with what they create. But what they create, oftentimes, they're praying over as well. And it becomes something in your house, right? It is in your house. After they prayed over it, they then released it into your hands, and they released it into your house. Well, with the sons of Yah, the Father covers us. We could tread on serpents and scorpions. But here's the reality. What the Father desires to do, I've talked about this map a couple times during this season. What he desires to do is to position his people. And so the thing that was interrupted in another season, your business, your ideas, the innovation, the things that the Father was giving, your inventions or whatever, those things that were interrupted, the Father saying, now I'm going to restore to you this place, and you're going to go beyond where you were, because I needed to be in the hands of the people, because I prepared you for this moment. What's so funny about these diplomatic persons is that they go into territories even when there's war. You know, I've listened to some of the stories of some of the diplomats and how they were sent. Understand that I told you they took these concepts out of the scripture. They were sent. I'm on a live. What is it? They were sent. I don't, baby. They were sent into these other nations, regardless of the war that was being waged in that space. Regardless of the war, they were sent anyway. And they were driving in the cars into the space that they were being sent into, and people on the side of the road with guns. Yeah, you ask the average person that says they're a Christian to go into some spaces. I've gone into drug houses, but I was sent there to take people out of there. And I didn't have any fear when I hit that porch. Matter of fact, I was so angry at the adversary. I walked down that street huffing and puffing with my arms almost behind me. Hit that porch, didn't even knock on the door, just walked in and called the name. You hear me? It's something about when you're sent somewhere. It just gives you a different courage to do the work that you're sent there to do. But when you don't know who you are, then you're intimidated with things, and you're asking for permission to do something that you were demanded or commanded or even mandated to do. I don't need the permission of anybody to do what I'm mandated to do. Heaven has permitted me. So because heaven has permitted me, I go fearlessly into the spaces that he's calling me into. Now, what would the people that aren't sure of their identity, I'm not going to name no names, what would they do? They would be walking up the street, praying. But it's somebody baby in that house right there, though. So we're gonna walk past the house and pray. That's what we're gonna do. But the baby's still in there, though. That child's still in there. You know that, right? But we're gonna go the easy route. We're gonna go the route of less resistance, of least resistance, right? When it comes to sickness and disease, we're gonna pray over the sickness and disease. We're going to, no, he said, no, we're not going to pray about sickness and disease. We're going to cancel that assignment. This is why I told you, while we're in this season, you can demand some things. You can put a demand on the spirit, put a demand on my spirit to get what you need, because I'm not walking in any space that's unfit for my health. I'm walking in health, so I can release you. You can get that from me. I have that virtue, so you can get it from me. But it's something that you have to know in order to demand it, to put a demand on it. You don't have to wait on somebody to say something to you, because if an ambassador comes into the space, they're coming with all the purpose that they were sent there for. And this is what the master did while he was walking as an ambassador of the king. He was taking into that space and into every space what the Father had given him in the way of his gifts, whether it was carpentry, whether it was the anointing that was on his life and the call that was on his life to do the work that he was given. He didn't go in there with a bunch of Bible verses. He just didn't do it. He didn't do it. That's why sometimes I get on live and I just start talking. And I'm sure people are like, well, what wasn't she going to say a Bible verse? I am quoting based on the conversation that he's had. And if you are a believer, then you know verses that'll go exactly with what I'm saying. It's not just about the verse. It's about the revelation of who he is. And when we begin to identify the revelation of who he is, it's because we have relationship with what we have read and what he has said. And the reason why a lot of people are not able to distinguish between the holy and the profane is because they have nothing in them to distinguish it. And because they have no way to distinguish it, they can't extinguish it when it comes to them, which is where we get all of these issues that we were dealing with yesterday because of rejection. Now we're walking around carrying all of these things. When the master said clearly, my yoke is easy and my burden is light, he said, listen, I've been an example to you. All you have to do is follow the way that I do what I do. And if you follow the way that I do what I do, you're taking on my yoke and my burden. And baby, that thing you carrying is too heavy for this flight. You have to take some stuff out your bag to travel with us. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's too heavy for the flight. You're going to be charged extra. And in some cases, you can't even be charged extra. Just can't go because there's so many bags before you. And now the weight capacity is already settled. So this is the thing and the place that we are in this season as ambassadors. Please move quickly. I'm on a live and everything that's outside of my door is being heard. Thank you, babe. Go ahead. I got you. I got you. Listen, it's a new time. I'm extremely excited. Even when I deal with these kinds of things while I'm doing my lives, I'm extremely excited because I know that the Father has prepared me for something else. And that something else is so much greater than what I have had to deal with starting over. I'm thankful for the start over. I'm thankful for the space that allowed me to start over. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm excited even now about the space that he's taken me to so that I am able to just do what I do without interruption and without being pulled on in 50 different directions about band-aids and chips and, all of those things that I do when I'm not on the live. But it's the Father has already released a word in this season, and he's going to put people in a space where they're going to have to respect you. I'm going to keep reiterating that because I know a lot of people that are listening to these lives are dealing with different levels of what we see as just disrespectful. For me, it wouldn't be a problem if it was me. And from in my day, it was different because I knew what it meant to allow my mother to do what she had to do and for my children to be with me and do what they needed to do. It wasn't an issue, but now that's not the same. It's not the same time that we're in, but the Father is going to make a way for respect to be a factor because people just don't respect the things of Yah like that. They just don't. But there's a reason why they don't respect the things of Yah, because we're coming into that season now where the sons are coming into authentic identity. And we're going to begin to continue to release the expression of who Yah is. That's why he told us to be quiet in this season. That's why he told us, because some of the times, how we would feel to respond could be so damaging to people. It really could be. And do you know, by our words, we're justified and by our words, we're condemned. But it's also a thing when you're in a person of authority, when you're in a position of authority, like a mother or a father, what you say matters to the seed. What you say of the seed matters concerning the seed. I don't know if any of you have ever seen the experiments where people have planted the seed and allowed the plant to grow, but they put words on the front of the plant and gave it some time. And over time, the words, that great words, made the plant flourish in one pot. And then the plant that was in the words that were negative words was dying. It was wilting. We got to be very mindful, very mindful of how we do what we do in this hour. And the Father's, He's making sure that we understand, yeah, there's going to be a waging of war. There's going to be war when we're called into spaces, but the ambassador or the diplomat is not concerned about the war as much as they're concerned about what they're carrying to take into that region or that environment or that nation. That becomes the priority over the fact that war is broken out or floods have ravaged an area or whatever those things are. They're there to give solution to the problem. And this is what we've been called to as the sons of Yah, to give solution to the problems. It's what we've been called to do. I'm excited about what we've been called to do in this hour. And I'm just excited to connect in this hour with the people of Yah that are in all of these different places so that we can link arms in this hour and really do the work. Not just in foreign lands, but this land has become, this is a foreign land too. And that's a whole nother conversation. But this land is foreign because the things that are operating on this land right now have nothing to do with what benefits the people. Has everything to do with what benefits the powers that be. But guess what? Even in this land, the Father desires to gather for himself a people. And those people are going to be protected under the shadow of his wing. They're going to be able to enter in to the authority of Yah and be safe. It's a strong tower. His authority is a strong tower. The Bible says that we run into that space and we are safe. When we understand his authority, we know our God and we're going to do exploits. That's just what it is. But I'm going to tell you something. We're not going to be able to pray away war. We're not going to be able to pray away famine and all of these different things in certain areas, because these things must happen. They must be. And then the end will come. Now, I do see that we're going into spaces where, especially with this homelessness, man, this thing is really vexing me. And I don't even feel like what I'm doing in the way of my initiatives are moving fast enough to begin to make an impact in those areas. But the Father has his own timing. And things got to be, they've got to be proven and they've got to be tested. And they've got to be worked so that we can see his movement and we can identify his way of doing the thing. It's just got to be worked. But I believe that even with those things, the Father's going to lay such a burden on the sons of Yah that we step into such a space that we begin to house and, buy commercial property to do some different things with, so that, the streets begin to be cleaned up and not just people being off the street, but cleaned up in the way that people that have gifts that are on the streets that are not able to use their gifts right now because they are displaced will be back in a space where they can flourish again. And that's what's going to bring glory to Yah. That's what's going to bring glory to him. When the blind, for me, that's the blind seeing again. We know that open eyes happen. But what about some of these issues that we're looking at? What can we do as sons of Yah, as diplomats, with the issues that we are presently seeing? What can we do with that? Besides just try to make a name for ourselves, what can we do with that? How can we allow the glory of Yah to be revealed in those areas? These are the areas that he's calling us to, because I'm telling you, there's nobody that gets in a space called an office concerning the nations or concerning particular nations. Some places have kings, some people have presidents, but I'm going to tell you who the king and the president is over the lives of the sons, okay? He remains the royal pundit over our lives. He remains the King of kings and the Lord over lords. He is the King of all kings and the Lord over all lords. He remains in that position. And we know that that's where we look to when we need what we need, when we're not understanding what's going on, when we're not clear about what's taking place. We look to the hills. What does that mean? We look unto our Father. We know that our help comes from him. That's what we trust in. That's where our trust is. It's in him. It's in the covenant that was made. That's where our trust is. It's in the covenant that was made between us, and the certainty and the clarity and the identity that we have on that covenant is what's proven itself over and over again. And this hour is no exception. This is going to be the most exceptional time for mankind that we have ever witnessed. I believe that this is going to be one for the history books. What we're going to see in this hour is going to be so divine concerning the sons of Yah. The eyes haven't seen it and ears haven't heard it, but he has revealed it to his sons. He's revealed it unto us. And so now we're positioning ourselves humbly, is the word I want to use. Because some of the things that he's shown, and some of them we see in our dreams, some of these things we see in our dreams, but some of the things that he's shown us, we wouldn't naturally want to be a part of that movement because we see what the struggle part of it is, or what the contest looks like. That's what I want to say. We see the contenders involved. It's like being told, you're going to fight Mike Tyson. I know he's retired and all that, but from a natural perspective, if I viewed it from a natural sense, then I would say, I'm not going to fight no Mike Tyson. He's been a boxer for so many years, and I'm just now hearing about stepping into a ring. I don't have what I need, but that wasn't David's mindset. It wasn't David's mindset. David said, oh, I got this. You know why? Because I fought the lion and the bear. And it wasn't just me fighting it. It was the authority that the Father gave me over the lion and the bear. I've already seen these kinds of things that were not in my power. So this is not a problem. You got to be willing in this hour to get out of the comfort zone. I meant to discuss this the other day. That comfort zone is a killer. It is a killer. Comfort and convenience are killers that are really not discussed a lot, but a lot of people want to be in that comfort zone. They want to do what they feel is comfortable for them. They want to do what's comfortable. They want to do the convenient thing. And the Father's saying, I'm completely taking that off the table. Nothing that I'm saying in this season is convenient or comfortable. It's not convenient nor comfortable, but I promise you, my blessing is attached to it. My blessing is attached to the obedience that you give concerning the thing that I'm calling you to. Because when you step into the obedience concerning that thing, it's going to make impact in your environment. It's going to make impact in your sphere of influence. And that's when they're going to see me, because you didn't turn back. Regardless of what other people are saying about what you're doing, you didn't turn back. David got to that site because his father sent him there. He was a sent one. He didn't just go, but his big brother Eliab had a problem with him because his big brother Eliab knew that Yah was with him. He knew that it was something about this boy. That's why he started just throwing off on him. What you do with those few little sheep? Where the few little sheep you got, and you just came down here to see the fight. You just came down here to see the war. David said, I can't even talk. Like, what's the problem? I'm talking. I mean, I can't say nothing. You can't say nothing that people that are jealous of you, that got an issue with you, are not going to have something to say about. But if you don't budge because they're talking and you keep moving in the direction, the divine direction that Yah sent you to, there's going to be an authority that's going to overhear your voice concerning a matter. And when they overhear your voice, now you're going to be put in a position to bring down the thing that has been accosting many people. That's how I see it in this season. We're bringing down giants in this hour because we identify with our King. And we remember that he's brought us through many other things. And this is no exception. The hour that we're stepping into is no exception. Sure, it might be a giant instead of a bear or a lion. But guess what? It's the season to bring down the giant. And we are not afraid. We're not afraid no matter what the giant is saying to us. Whatever that giant looks like for you, no matter what the giant is saying, no matter how the giant is moving, it is going to come down to its end. And that's where people are going to receive their liberty and their freedom again. This is a beautiful hour. It's just a beautiful hour. I'm going to turn y'all loose because we got to get ready for the 8th day. So much more I want to say to you, but I want to say it tomorrow while we're live together. And if some of you would like to come on the live with me tomorrow and just share how you've been blessed by this season of Sukkot and the 8th day, I would love for you to come on and share some of the things you got out of what you've heard during this season. Because I believe that even if this was your first time celebrating Sukkot, even if this is your first exposure to the Moeds or the appointed times of Yah, you'll never be the same because you stepped into it. You'll never be the same because you obey. This is his word. Read Leviticus 23 tonight. You will see that this is his desire for his sons, that 3 times a year we're to gather and to remember the things that he's told us to remember. Those are his appointments. Those are his convocations. Those are his appointed times. And when we meet him at the appointment that he establishes, we walk away from that changed. We walk away from that changed. I'm so excited about what he's done already. And I'm looking at the things that are shifting. Now, I told you I'm in a season of starting over, but I'm looking at the shift. The start over part is ending, and now I'm getting ready to get in the flow of some things. And it's so exciting to see. And I'm believing that that is your position as well, that you're getting back into the flow of things as you've been commanded, as you have been mandated to get back into the flow of things. The gifts and callings are without repentance. The problem is that people aren't using the gift, and they're not adhering to the calling, or they're using the gift for the wrong purpose, and they're prostituting the call. But this is the hour we're going to get back in our divine positions and move according to the kingdom of Yah's plan for our lives and for the earth. We're going to move according to his plan for the earth and our lives. All right. I love y'all. I'm going to turn you loose. Listen, the body is not a me thing. It's a we thing. And I want you to go and be blessed tonight. We'll be on tomorrow. I will be on at 7 tomorrow. Won't be on at 5. I'll be on at 7 tomorrow. I only came out early today because I wanted to spend this time with my brother. And so tomorrow we'll be back at 7 p.m. But this is the end of the Ark and the Crown. This is the end of the 7th month's festival, the festival of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of Booths, the Ingathering, 5784. And I repeat that again because this is the 7th month according to Scripture. Although people are saying it's the new year, it is not. And this is why we have to study to show ourselves approved, right? We have to study for ourselves so that we know what we know and that we're not going off of what other people are telling us. Because when we're in the right place at the right time, oh my God, such a dynamic flow happens. But when we're in the wrong place at the wrong time, or sometimes the right thing, we're trying to do the right thing at the wrong time. It's happening. And we're trying to figure out what's really going on, right? But I love you. I appreciate you. And we will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. And then we'll be preparing for galactic prayer. Y'all know we did kinetic prayer. So if you're watching this right now and you were not with us in that kinetic prayer season, I am imploring you to go back. All right, if you're still here, I just kind of, my computer just did whatever it wanted to do in that moment. Nope, I didn't hit the button. Um, it just blinked out, and there's been a lot of that. I told y'all, people have been passing out. These devices have been passing out. We've got to be prepared for what's in front of us. And so, yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. And like I said, if you did not get an opportunity to be a part of kinetic prayer last year, it's a good time to go back and to begin to um, hear what the Father was sharing with us in kinetic prayer, because we're doing galactic prayer this year. And I don't know when he wants to start that, but I'm so excited about it. Um, and I'm excited to be connected with you to do that time. We'll see you tomorrow. Until tomorrow, peace to your house. Shalom. Shalom.